Jason Tatum over Larry Bird? He hasn't. What is he really accomplished so far yet? Like, he hasn't done anything to make you think he's better than Larry Bird. Come on, Stephen A. This might be just a hot take, one of those that he's just trying to get his name up or something. I don't know.
Yes, basically take Tatum over Larry Bird.
Believe that
for the first 46 minutes.
Oh, that's supposed to be your ear, Stephen A.
Now, stopping it right there.
Y'all see the title. Let's get to it.
So, for some odd reason, Larry Joe Bird of all players, the second best small forward of all time, a top 10 player in NBA history, is having his name dragged through the mud by ESPN yet again. And I do find it, of all the players, all the times you could do this, to downplay Larry Bird now in 2023, it's pretty great timing. As Jokic this year just averaged 30.
And I'm sorry I'm pausing so early. We just reacted to my first time reacting to Jokic highlights. I see the Larry Bird comparisons, bro. I see him. The way he plays the game. He got the touch and tap passes like Larry. He got the dimes like Larry. It's the feel for the game. Like I said when I reacted to Larry Bird. They got a feel for the game that most don't got.
2010 won the championship. And the year prior, Luka Doncic made the West Finals while being a walking 30-piece. Now, nevertheless, my jaw almost hit the floor when I heard this take from Stephen A. Smith saying Jason Tatum, yes, Jason Tatum is better than Larry Bird for 46 out of 48 minutes. Don't believe it? Listen for yourself.
Well, who would you rather have, Larry Bird or Jason Tatum?
Well, the answer to that was the same thing that people used to ask me about LeBron James or Larry Bird. I used to be like this: LeBron James for the first 46 minutes, give me Bird for the last 2.
So you're saying
that's I ain't gonna lie. That's a testament to Bird's clutchness. We all know Bird, one of the clutchest players ever.
But shooting ability too.
You're saying that you have Jason Tatum for the first 46. I know you said LeBron, but you're using that same equation with Jason Tatum for the first 46 minutes for Larry Bird.
No, Will Kyle question. Larry Bird was clutch. Larry Bird was clutch.
But I'm talking about you don't want him for the whole game?
No. I'm saying for me, not Larry Bird for the whole game. No.
Oh, come on.
That's what he's saying.
What? You rather have Jason Tatum? Jason Tatum. The guy who, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, he's been so inconsistent in these playoffs. Like, come on, gang. You can't go with Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum over Larry Bird? He hasn't, what is he really accomplished so far yet? Like, he hasn't done anything to make you think he's better than Larry Bird? Come on, Stephen A. This might be just a hot take, one of those that he's just trying to get his name up or something. I don't know.
Yes, basically take Tatum over Larry Bird.
Believe that
for the first 46 minutes.
Oh, that's supposed to be your ear, Stephen A.
Now, stopping it right there, Stephen A. Smith's logic, it's pretty idiotic. As taking Tatum over Bird for 46 to 48 minutes, it baffles my mind. And I don't know how any self-respecting NBA fan who's watched numerous eras like Stephen A. Smith can have this take. And if you're saying Tatum is better than Bird for all but 2 minutes, you're basically saying Tatum is a better overall player and a top 10 player in NBA history.
Like, come on,
and comparing both Tatum and Bird as individual players, Larry Joe Bird clears him fairly easily.
Like, I don't understand how it is. Stephen A. You're crazy for that. That was crazy. That was crazy.
More efficient, better rebounder, much better passer, higher basketball IQ, 10 times more clutch, and by far a better shooter. The only thing Tatum has Bird on is things like vertical, speed, quickness, and defense very slightly. But with that being said, back in the 80s, we saw guys like Dominique Wilkins, Dr. J, guys who were better athletes get outplayed and beat by Bird all the time. And Bird, despite his flaws...
You just watched Jokic outplay the whole NBA, man. Come on, man. We can't keep going with this narrative that non-athletic players or non-quick players, whatever you want to call them, can't hoop. Like, yo.
His shortcomings as an athlete, impact-wise, was so much more impactful than Jason Tatum. As for Tatum's career, you gotta be honest. He came into a Boston team that a year prior was in the Eastern Conference Finals. Compared to Larry Bird, who went to a Celtics team that he missed the playoffs for 2 straight years. And the year before him went 29-53, his second worst record in the NBA. Larry Bird, as a rookie going to that team, instantly made them a championship contender and led them to 61 wins.
That's tough.
And looking at their...
Did they excuse me for the stuttering, I ain't eat none, but did they have Dennis Johnson and who else? Robert Parrish, and who else? Who was the other guy? Someone help me. Damn, I forgot. And Kevin McHale. Did they have them?
Pete Maravich, who was over the hill and only played half the season. Besides that, the Celtics team, primarily the starters and bench players, were the exact same team. And going one step further,
I guess I'll
wait, in defensive rating.
Wait, what? I'm confused now.
In offensive rating. The next year with Bird,
I got my history fucked
instantly were top 5 in both those categories, and once again, a championship contender. And look, I don't hate Jason Tatum, but for these conversations,
that's tough, though. That means Larry Bird had a crazy impact on the team.
Larry Bird comparisons and be called better than Bird, it's way out of bounds. As looking at Tatum this year in the playoffs, he was fantastic in some games, and other games was a shell of himself.
What did I just say? The inconsistencies, man. Come on. Come on. Bird here all day, every day. We here. We come to play. Come to hoop. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to worry about the inconsistencies with Bird. Come on, man.
The word to describe Tatum
I don't know how this is
erratic. One night, he's shooting 60%, and the next night, 16%. And looking at Game 7 versus Miami, the biggest game of the season, yes, Tatum in this game got injured. For the rest of the game, he was not impactful in the slightest. Compared to someone like Bird, the cream of the crop, one of the best players of all time, after hurt
his back, and he was down. I already know what we're about to say. Talk.
In 85, the following year with a broken back, bad knees, really bad everything, he had one of the greatest seasons in NBA history.
He's
As
talking.
in 86,
real shit.
he won
like,
MVP, third straight.
No, I want to hear no ankle excuse. Little ankle excuse. I said back was hurt. His whole back.
One of those being at home. He was a 3-point champ, free throw percentage leader, top 10 in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, while leading his Boston team in all said categories. And looking at the playoffs, he elevated his play to just historic levels, averaging 26 points, 9 boards, 8 assists on ridiculous 52, 41, and 93 splits. His Boston team went 15-3 en route to the championship. If you look through NBA history, 86 Bird till this date is the only player all time to average 25 points per game on 54-90 splits and win the championship. And once again, he was doing that on a broken back. Things like that, seasons like that, separate the great ones from the all-time great ones.
Just for the kids that think that might be cap or something, Larry couldn't even sit on the bench because his back used to hurt so much, boy. He used to lay down on the floor and watch the games because his back was hurting so much. He couldn't even sit down. So I don't want to hear none of y'all little kids in the comments talk about this cap. No.
But what I'm saying to you is Jason Tatum has had moments where he's shown up under those lights.
Not at the biggest lights.
And other times he hasn't. But Game 7 is a Game 7, bro. And you go to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. You go to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Semifinals, and you drop 51. You do that last year in the postseason. You drop 46 in the closeout Game 6. You down 3-2. You go on the road and move.
Come on, these are point stats, y'all. Come on. We know this league is this era is a scoring league. You can't just talk about points. You can't just talk about points.
You drop 46 against Giannis. That stuff matters.
How many players have dropped 70 this season?
If you show up sometimes and you don't show up
in the
other
past
times,
few
you
seasons,
just don't
like,
have
it's ridiculous.
It's not a matter of
It's not even about scoring no more.
So stopping it right there, once again, how can a guy who's over 50 have these takes about Larry Bird?
That's what I said, bro. It's supposed to be your era, Stephen A. This is disrespectful.
Tatum, age 25, is erratic. And like I said, from night to night, you don't know which version you're getting of Jason Tatum. And speaking of those big-time games, Game 7 Larry Bird is rarely, if ever, talked about. But when he was healthy, minus his last Game 792, he was a shell of himself. Prime Larry Bird in Game 7s was virtually unstoppable, averaging 29.1 points, 9.9 boards.
Come on, boy. That's 50, 40, 90. 50, 45, 95.
1 assist on 49.4 and 95 splits. In those 7 games, the Celtics went 6-1. For the all-time great players, being consistent
2K. That's some 2K shit. I said that.
And for Larry Joe Bird,
I think it was the last reaction you seen that clip.
He was always consistent and always showed up in the big-time games. And looking at his second championship run, that being in '84,
just wanting more.
For 19 straight games, he scored above 20 points. In all of NBA history, only Jordan, LeBron, and KD have longer such streaks.
Come on, this is just only people that's up there is the greats. You know what I'm saying? Minus KD. I don't really talk about KD as one of the greats like that. I mean, he's a great talent, but in terms of being an all-time great player and achieving greatness, he's not up there like that. But yeah, you can't talk about Tatum how you talk about these players, bro. You can't say that.
I'm going with Larry Bird. I don't care what about you. Just Larry Bird get them championships. Yeah. Larry Bird to say, "Look, I'm better than you. I'm gonna play you."
Larry Bird was with my left hand.
Larry Bird would tell you about to shoot this 3 in the corner. And you for the game, you about to shoot the 3 in the corner. You better stop him. Go to the corner, hit the 3, game time, and we going home, point at you. How can you, come on, you can't equate that to Jason Tatum.
But I do think that at times he was a defensive liability. And so what I'm saying to you is that I know what he can do, but physically, he would elevate himself in pressure moments. He couldn't sustain it physically over the course of 48 minutes.
So Stephen A. Smith right here obviously hasn't done his homework and hasn't brushed up on 1980s basketball, as saying Larry Bird for an entire 48-minute game, quote-unquote, couldn't sustain himself, is an abysmal take. As looking at Larry Joe Bird, in all of NBA history for minutes per game, he ranks 3rd all-time.
Get in there. That's that exactly shooter's touch,
42.0. The 2 guys he's ahead of are Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Come on,
And the 2 guys ahead of him are Russ and Wilt. And going even more in depth, looking at Larry Bird's 3 championship runs. For those seasons, he played 243 out of 246 games. For the modern NBA, that's virtually unheard of if you're not Mikal Bridges. And looking at his minutes average,
I think I heard that Mikal Bridges, I think he refused to sell games or something like that.
41.8.
There's a few players. Anthony Edwards does that too.
42.8. Unlike Jason
I respect
Tatum,
players like that.
Bird
Anthony Edwards was one of my favorite players coming out of high school too.
And deep playoff runs while being injured. And the last thing I do want to touch on is Stephen A. Smith saying Larry Bird is a quote-unquote defensive liability. As if you know basketball history, that's far from accurate.
So different, bro.
No, Larry Bird, he wasn't Scottie Pippen guarding 1 through 4, being a menace at all times in the court. But if you watch his games, his basketball IQ, he was a very smart defender. Mainly guarding 3s, 4s, and 5s, and getting the passing lanes of any action to
And he knows how to put himself in position to be a better defender, even though he lacks some of the athletic things. But, you know, when you have such a high IQ, he's going to make up for things like that, bro.
Yes, Tatum is a more athletic defender and a better defender in general. But Larry Bird's overall defense at this point is actually kind of underrated. Again, he wasn't Scottie Pippen, but on the flip side, he wasn't some stiff and a liability to his Boston Celtics teams. So that right there is the end of the video. Once again, an ESPN host with a god-awful take that's just inaccurate, false, and it's all over the place.
Larry was doing the shit Jokic was doing back in the day, and they out here disrespecting him. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy, and I wouldn't expect this from Stephen A. because it seems to be like that would be his era, and he would have more knowledge than most of us, and he would know better than that. But obviously not. Maybe it's his boss telling him to say crazy things, but all we see is you. So you got to get the blade, my brother. Word. If y'all enjoyed, click on the last reaction over here. Share the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out of here, man. Turn on post notifications as well.